Sunday night, Jeff's back. All is good in the world. We'll be talking a lot of baseball coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined again as usual by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we do greatly appreciate that. Helps people find us, helps people listen to us. If you've been listening to us all year, and hopefully I got some good information out of that, please leave a positive and review with a bunch of stars. That would be fantastic. Jeff, it's been a couple weeks. We thank Brian Slack for filling in last week. It was a fun podcast, always to have Brian on. How's everything with you?
Hectic, very hectic, but really awesome too. I had a kid go off to college. I had a golf trip in there. I had a trip to Vegas to do some radio shows from Radio Row.
Also, you work in this world, and football and baseball are like converging at once. This must be like a just crazy few weeks for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I'm still on I'm not coaching anymore, but I'm still on the board at AYSO, and getting everybody to the starting line has been time involved as well. So it's been a whirlwind. It still is, but it's great. It's great. I have a good life.
Kids start school yet? Or your high school kids start school yet or not yet?
They both start classes tomorrow. One at LMU, nice. One at Mayfield High School.
Does the younger one feel like she's queen of the house now that the older one's out?
She's enjoying full attention. There's no doubt, but she misses her sister too.
She misses. All right, that's good at least.
Yeah.
So Jeff, if we'd spoken a few months ago, we would never have considered the AL West to be one of the better divisions of baseball. 3 of the top 4 teams in the AL by run differential in the AL West. 3 of the top six teams in baseball. You take the Braves and the Dodgers in the NL. You take the Rays in the AL East, and then you've got the 3 teams in the AL West are all top 6 in run differential. The Mariners, the Rangers, the Astros, all separated with 1 game. Best division in baseball right now, Jeff, in terms of like watchability and fun. 3 teams within 1 game each other. It's really, really fun.
It is. They're not all like each other, though. They're all kind of like in different phases of strength and weaknesses right now. In particular, the Rangers are faltering badly. The Rays, I mean, they have a bad news item happen to them every single day, it feels like. And yet here they are still.
Yep. The Rangers are wild. I knew they had been struggling a little bit. I looked and they were 1-9 in the last 10 games. Their playoff odds, if you look at ESPN's down to 65%, just where I was looking right now. Astros and Mariners are both 85%. The Mariners have won 19 of 23 now. It was 18 of 22 earlier. They won today. They swept whoever the heck they played. It's the Royals. Whoever they played.
Royals this weekend. Yep.
It was the Royals. They swept them. That's like 2 long winning streaks in there. They're fun. They're hitting and they can pitch. They have they've given up the least amount of runs in the entire American League. Their starting rotation pretty much goes 5 deep. They're fun. I got to consider them. The Rangers are definitely 3rd right now if you had to pick teams right now, and the Mariners and Astros are right there. I'm pulling for the Mariners here. I think it's a fun story. Obviously, Julio is obviously a lot of fun. Their pitching staff is fun to watch. They're a team you do not want to face in the playoffs. They're going to throw a lot of big velocity, really good arms out there.
Yeah, and they're getting Brian Wu back. I mean, and I'm looking forward to seeing more out of him. It's a shame they lost the other kid that they just called up.
Emerson Hancock?
Yes, exactly. Yep. But
I just like saying that name. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It rolls right off the tongue, so that's good. I read that this is the latest in the year that they've been solo first place since 2003.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
They have not made the playoffs since the year they won 150 games, right?
They made the playoffs last year.
Exactly, before last year. Did they make it last year? Or were they the wild card?
Yeah, they won. They beat Toronto in a series, and then
that's right.
Astros Toronto, to the brink in that 17 inning game.
Toronto blew that last game. They had a lead late. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. So the streak was broken last year. It was wild that you win the most games ever. You don't make the playoffs for 20 years. So it's fun. And I just I don't know. I like the Rangers story too, man. They got a ton of offense, but the pitching's starting to falter a little bit. I'd love to see both them beat the Astros, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it could be possible that one of those 3 teams doesn't make the playoffs, which is it blows my mind when you think about it.
We were talking about like 3, maybe 4 of the AL East teams making it for a long time.
Yeah.
And right now there's one AL East wild card, and Toronto's behind, I guess it'd be Houston now for the wild card by 2.5 games. Then Boston's 4.5 back. The AL has definitely kind of separated itself. There's only 5 teams in the mix for the 3 wild card spots in the moment. Angels and Yankees and Guardians have pretty much fallen out of there. But yeah, it'd be wild if only two AL East teams make it. We were talking 3, maybe 4 for a long time.
Yeah, well, 3 months ago. Just 3 months ago, how would you react if I told you the Yankees were going to be 6 games under 500 with a negative 23 run differential?
You tell me 6 weeks ago, and I would have thought you're crazy.
Yeah, they have just cratered, absolutely cratered. It is one of the least fun bottoming outs I've seen in a long time, unless except for everybody that hates them. Yeah. I don't hate the Yankees is the funny thing. I've never been a fan of them, but I don't hate them.
I don't either.
But man. It's tough. It's a tough spot right now. The Yankees and the Mets are both in last place in their division.
Yeah, and they both spent a ton of money, and they were both like favorites to make the playoffs. It's crazy. It's not like it's a year where we thought it was going to happen. It's been a horrible.
People are calling for Subway Series at the beginning of the year.
I don't think that's going to happen, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean the Mets won today and the Nats lost, so they're only a game behind the Nats, but still, they're behind the Nats.
Yeah, that's the fact they're even in the discussion with the Nats is wild. And I mean, Carlos Rodon, we're August 27th. I know he missed a lot of times, but his ERA is 6.
Yeah. It's the worst case, almost the worst case scenario. I mean, the worst case scenario would be like Judge out multiple years or something like that. But it doesn't get much worse than what the Yankees have done this year.
No, and you look at next year, and they've got all these like young guys, but I mean, those guys have to develop. They're only lasted like
at least
20
they're playing now.
They are. It'd be interesting. I saw some rumors they're thinking of calling up Jason Dominguez, and I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind seeing 70 at bats right there. I know he just got called to AAA, but he's been hitting really well the last few weeks. I'm all for giving guys 70, 80 plate appearances before the end of the year. It'd be fun if we saw the alien up too.
I would like to see some of these young guys actually do well. That's been one of the stories of their season is, Pereira's struggling now after getting the call, and Cabrera and Peraza have also struggled. Even Volpe, I mean, he's had his moments, but he's struggled. Oswald Peraza, this is one of my whiffs of the year. I was in on Oswald Peraza this year in a lot of places, and yeah, he's been less than nothing. He's actually actively hurt you. I mean, if you had him all this year, especially if you held on to him, waiting for him to get, he'll get a chance later. They may send him down for 2 weeks, then he'll be up. No, it's the opportunity cost has been terrible. At least Volpe has like the homers and stolen bases. But these other guys, man, that's just such a disappointing year.
I'm glad Paul Sporer is around. He corrected me. Jason Dominguez is the Martian, not the alien. It's close enough. They're both movie titles, right? I was close.
Yeah.
I knew it didn't sound right when I said alien right when it happened. But Volpe's interesting because the batting average is low. But if you had told me that you're getting 18 home runs after today, 20 stolen bases from that spot, obviously it's been a huge hole batting average wise, but at least the power and speed have been there. He hasn't like killed you, although he was drafted really highly. But you said you're gonna get 20 home runs, you get 25 steals. That's not gonna kill you anywhere.
I'm drafting him next year probably. At least I'll be in on him.
He had a right center field home run today that was really nice. He got a lot of pop. It's just a matter of getting that strikeout rate down. It's been lower in the minors, so I'm hoping maybe it's a get called up sort of thing that struggles a little bit. Although he had struggled a little bit in AAA last year, but 27% strikeout rate just doesn't work for not hitting 40 home runs. But I like a lot of what I see. Yeah,
he's 22. He's got a 9% walk rate. He's got a 175 ISO. I mean, come on, what are we really truly expecting here? I think I'm almost certainly going to be in on him because his price is going to be less than say like Ellie. But if you asked at the beginning of the year, who is going to, I think Volpe was probably rated higher than Ellie in most places. And Ellie, by the way, is struggling too. I mean, he's still got a 304 on base.
Did you see the throw? Did you see the throw today?
Yeah, it was useful.
Holy moly.
Yeah, we like that. He does, and that's the thing about Ellie is almost once or twice a week he does something you're just like, wow. It's the watch him do something. The Angels broadcasters couldn't get enough of Ellie. They absolutely loved him. He's also struck out 105 times in 69 games. So, there's still a big growth curve for him still too. But
I think getting this, I know the Reds are fading here as we kind of talk, and they're kind of hanging on third wild card in the contention there. But getting Ellie half a season at bats, I think is going to be gold. I think it's going to be really important. He's looked really rough at times, looked overmatched at times, but mostly just the swing and miss. I mean, you could tell everything else play wise, he fits in perfectly. And you talk about Volpe. I mean, Ellie's 21 also. I mean, we're just
he's even younger than Volpe. Yeah.
There was some talk after like the first 3 weeks when he was hitting bombs and stealing bases every day. He was going to be a top 5 pick and then a first round pick. I don't think it's quite that high, but he's not. There's going to be no discount on De La Cruz next year, despite the home runs right now.
No, not with our Reds. No way.
No, not with our Reds. A good place to hit too. So, so let's jump into week 23. Jeff, we have 5 weeks left in the season. So if you are going to make a move, it's time to make that move. It's time to get some stats going. But still, 5 weeks is a long time. You can make a lot of. I know that I've lost leads and gained leads in the last 5 weeks, so I know it can happen. I've lost big leads and gained 5 leads in that amount of time too. So only one team this week with 5 games. The Rays, we were talking about earlier, they have 5 games this week. A pretty decent amount of team with 7 games with 7. We have Dodgers, Giants, Padres in the NL West. Reds and Cubs and Braves and Nats have 7, and the Tigers and Yankees in the American League have 7. Any schedule you love this week, Jeff? Obviously, the Rockies are home all week, although this is a Rockies offense that, A, I don't think you're worried about throwing guys against them, and B, I don't know how many guys you really want to add on that roster, but they're at home, which means they're, Atlanta and Toronto get to go hit there.
Yeah, I didn't even bid on a single Rocky hitter. It was more like, hey, I'm happy that my guys and the Braves and Blue Jays are going there for sure. It's weird. The Tigers, maybe pretty good.
Sweet schedule. There's 7 righties too. I mean, if you have Keel Baddoo, Parker Meadows, Zach McKinstry, they're gonna be playing a lot.
Yeah, they are. And it's funny because at most points you're like, oh, the Yankees aren't really that good of a matchup. White Sox have these stud starters. Well, no anymore. The White Sox. I can't even articulate anything about Friday night there, but it's just keep on continuing never-ending string of bad stories with what's happening at White Sox games.
Not good. And not to mention the fact that the A's smoked Dylan Cease that night too, just to add to the White Sox. But yeah, they were obviously, you're talking about the gunshots that happened at the stadium, or it was wild. But yeah, there's nobody you fear there. And, the Tigers face Tukey, Clevenger. Clevenger pitched really well today, but I think that's 3 out of 4 starts have been good from Clevenger. Maybe he's turned a corner a little bit and they get Kopech. The Yankees, unless Cole's pitching, Schmidt's all right. But other than that, there's nobody you fear there except for Cole, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm really kind of hoping that these Tiger guys that have been surging a little bit keep going a little bit. Quietly, the Tigers have been they are giving us reason to be hopeful at times.
Yeah, the Spencer Torkelson bust chatter has finally gone down a little bit. He's had a pretty good second half. He's up to 23 home runs, 68 RBIs. I know he's only hitting 230, but a ton of hard contact. He's a 50% hard contact guy with a 14% barrel rate. I'm hoping his price somehow stays a little bit down next year because I'll be back in again.
Yeah, for sure. It's the only thing that maybe keeps it down a little bit is the fact that the team context. And unfortunately, there's no trading in the leagues that you play in, but I could see a trade league have him being able to recover some value. But yeah, it's been a super fun ride lately.
Yeah, he started really rough. There's people dropping him, but it's gonna be a 27, 28 home run with 80 RBI season. I think you would have taken that in the 17th, 18th round when he was drafted. Other schedules you got to like the Jays this week. They are 3 home against Washington, 3 at Colorado. Unfortunately, they've got 2 guys who are injured today. Bo Bichette left some quad tightness. Matt Chapman, I think, is having some work done on his finger. He had that issue a couple weeks ago. He got pinched doing something. It flamed back up today, so they're going to do some testing on him. So that's not what you want as you head into a week where you get 3 against the Nats and then 3 at Coors. You hope those 2 guys be ready for the weekend at least.
Exactly.
I also liked the Padres looked this week. 3 against St. Louis. Don't worry there. 4 against the Giants. Not much I'm worried about there. And they actually miss Logan Webb, which is kind of the only guy there you really worry about. Our Reds have a good schedule this week. 3 against the Giants, 4 home against the Cubs. Hopefully the week the Reds bats can get going. Aside from our boy Matt McClain, who just rakes all the time.
Yeah, he does.
I love that dude.
Yeah, I do too. He's so good, so fun. It's with Votto hurt, they have the all rookie infield plus Spencer Steer, a converted infielder in the outfield. You can see why they're fading a little bit, but man, when that series against the Angels was just pure fun. They were rallying late. They were taking the extra base constantly. It was just super fun baseball.
Yeah, I mean, McClain's at 16 home runs, 14 steals in 88 games, like essentially half a season. It's just been, and he was, there was some bidding on him, but he was not one of the huge hyped call ups. So it's been a fun ride with McClain. I've enjoyed that one a lot. He's striking out a little too much. Probably got to work on that in the offseason. Hopefully he can fix that. But
had an awful error at second base the other night. Yesterday.
Cost Diaz a save. That was a rough one right there.
At least Diaz got a win, like you said, and at least there was 2 unearned runs. I think only one.
Actually, all 3 were unearned because the first one was the ghost runner.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I thought I didn't actually. I don't have Diaz, so I didn't realize that all 3 were unearned.
My drama of having Diaz and Sewald blow saves in that game was muted a little bit by the fact that all 3 ones were unearned. I did not know that at the time that I tweeted at you. So
yeah,
it was rough though. I was watching that game and Christy was like, "I thought you were rooting for the Reds." I'm like, "Yeah, but Sewald's in. We need a save here." And then they scored, and she's excited, and she's like, "Thought I was excited." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, now Diaz can get a save," and then she's looked at me, and I'm like, "All right, I got to stop watching this game."
Yeah. So with Kim and I, it's just how's the NFBC going? Oh, hey, football season starting soon. So we'll move on from that.
Preseason games are on. That's a bad sign.
No, I'm not watching preseason games. Come on,
dude. Preseason's horrible.
It really truly is. I mean, there are little moments here and there, but yeah.
Like the Niners game was on Friday. I'm like, oh, check out whoever, Purdy and Sam Darnold. And then the second half is like all guys are getting cut anyway. It's really a rough watch. It's bad football. It's sloppy. And it's a bunch of guys aren't going to be there on Tuesday.
And you get so many teams that don't even bother with like the third game of the preseason being the dress rehearsal. I mean, the Steelers did it, but they're playing a team that didn't.
And same with the Niners. They were playing the Chargers. I was like, this might be interesting for the first 5 minutes. And I realized the Chargers were sitting everybody. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go do something else because it's I like the regular season. Boy, the preseason's really bad. Braves have a good schedule this week. Not that you could pick up many Braves, although there was some Kevin Pillar chatter this week in pickups because the Braves face 4 lefties, 3 at Colorado, 4 at the Dodgers. Good first half there, but obviously the Dodger one's a little tough. It
is. It really is.
So let's jump into FAAB, and I actually want to start with relief pitchers this week. Usually we start with hitters or pitchers, but I felt like relievers was actually an interesting market this week for the first time in quite a while. There's not been a lot of closes on the waiver wire so far this year. Obviously, the first one is because of bad news. Felix Bautista injured, went in the IL with some sort of UCL injury. I'm already in football mode. I said UCLA. UCL injury. It didn't say how severe it was, and then it was kind of like, oh, I don't know if he's gonna pitch again or not this year. But obviously, we're not looking for any time soon with Bautista, which is a shame. Probably the best closer in baseball so far this year. Definitely with strikeouts, it's been awesome. I like watching the Orioles. They're a fun team. I'm hoping for some way you can get back by the playoffs, but I'm not too optimistic there. But Yennier Cano slides into that role. Got the first save. I think it was Saturday night. He got the first save. Has been really good all year. He made the All-Star team. He was really good the first 2 months. Had a little bit of a hiccup in the middle of the season, but has been great since. 1.6 ERA, 0.97 WHIP. Not only have we not had a lot of guys that have fallen into closer roles on the waiver wire, we've not had a lot of guys that are this good of a pitcher that fall into that role. We had that both today.
Exactly. And you saw some pretty aggressive bids on him. Unfortunately, I didn't have the aggressive budget to go with. So like when he went for 75, I was,
oh wow, there's someone with some cash in your league.
Yeah. In one of my leagues, I think he went for 70, 75. Yeah. And in a couple of places he's already rostered too. That was the other tricky part.
Yeah, he was 26% rostered in the main event going into today. So there was that's a quarter of the leagues that he's already taken in. He went for mid 30s in mine. I'm down to about $45 to $50. So I couldn't go quite that much. I would have loved to have him, but if you had any money, Cano was a guy to go for. I mean, this is someone that on a really good team that's a really good pitcher. Has not come across very often this year, if at all.
No, it really hasn't. Did you think about any backups to Cano in case they went elsewhere, or at least there's maybe he struggles, or maybe they like him in the role he's got? Did you think about Fujinami or Colombe or Perez at all?
I did. I thought about him. I know I probably have some scarring from the age watching Fujinami give up a lot of hits, but he's been really good as a reliever.
Yes, he has.
Danny Coulombe, who is also on the A's. I looked at him too. I think he's gonna be the lefty guy. I just think it's going to be Cano, to be honest with you. I think that they're going to slide him in there. I think that they said some stuff like, we'll kind of mix and match. I think they're just trying to not be he's the guy, let's go and put that pressure on him. But I think it's going to be the way they use Bautista was just so standard old school closer stuff. I think they're just going to slide Cano in there. I know that our friend Timothy Tunks, who listens to the podcast, loves Fuji. It's his favorite player. So he probably will be excited about that. But yeah, Fuji slides into a high leverage role though, which is pretty considering the first month of the season, he had an ERA about 14.
Yeah, and it's just shows that, just sometimes a change of environment, matters. Also, it just demonstrates too that, reliever performance can fluctuate wildly over a small sample. I mean, that's what they do. They have small sample sizes.
Yeah. I just think it's Cano. I think it'll be Cano. I think maybe if you get a weird matchup where Coulomb comes in, you get 3 lefties maybe, but I just think it's going to be, it needs to be Cano, and I felt pretty good about that. Miami's interesting too. They came out this afternoon, said that David Robertson, they traded for at the trade deadline, is out as closer. He has not been good. He's blown 3 of his 7 saves. Has been there. That's been up and down. It's been messy. Tanner Scott got the save today, which probably boosted his price a little bit. Brian Slack and I actually, when he was on last week, we talked about how we both thought Tanner Scott was the next guy up if something happened to Robertson or if he kept struggling. I wish I had picked him up last week. I just I don't think I had the spot for him, but got outbid on him this week. But I think Tanner Scott is a really nice ad right now. I think he's going to be, I wouldn't say the guy, but I would say most of the guy, to give him a majority of the role. I think it's nice that he's a lefty, but they have AJ Puck that can kind of be that lefty guy in the 7th and 8th inning, which always helps when you have a lefty closer. You want one more lefty. I think it'll be Scott. He's been really good. 35% strikeout rate, ERA under 2.6, WHIP under 1.1. This could be a guy that just takes a job and doesn't look back.
I got him in a couple places. Got him in one of the 3 mains. I got him in yogurt too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good ad. And the Marlins are a decent team. I think that struggled a little bit, but a good team, going to get some wins. I just think it's him. I think Puck kind of had his chance. I think they like to see him where he is right now. I don't think they're looking to rush him back into save ops anytime soon.
I'd agree with that. Absolutely. Did you end up with any Mojo Jojo?
I added Mojo Jojo Romero last week, actually, in 2 spots, and I had Gallegos and I watched him a bunch. I think something's up with him. It's been kind of a wild ride the last month or so. He got smoked this week, and he had 4 runs in a third of an inning. I finally dropped him. Ryan Helsley had a setback and kind of restarted his rehab, so maybe he's going to be back. But I think it's Romero right now. He was only 16% rostered in the 12-team RotoWire NFBC online championship. There's a lot of availability there. I think he's kind of the guy right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that it's like a lot of other retooling teams. Save situations might be scarce, but in so much as there are some, you might as well. I think he's the guy I would go for too. By the way, also, Tanner Scott, the price went up on him, but because he did get the save today, but he also was named by Craig Mish before the game. Craig Mish even said that Tanner Scott's going to be the guy. He gets the next chance. So Craig Mish is almost always right when it comes to the Marlins.
Yeah, I still think the Sunday save probably bumped him even a little bit more.
Yeah, bumped the price up for sure.
Just that confirmation bias of there we go. It's a good spot. I got outbid on him. I would have liked to get him too. It's just tough. It's I think I've realized this year I went a little low in FAAB over the last 2 months here, last like 8 weeks, 6 weeks. I'm gonna make sure I have a few more dollars. I usually do, but Matt Mervis really messed me up this year. I spent a lot of money on him, and it just worked to zero. I mean, he was bad, and then he was gone, and it was a really bad combo, and he was a lot of money, and that kind of put me a little behind the 8 ball in bidding for the rest of the year on 2 of my 3 teams. That's been
the theory on it was right.
It was. It just didn't. It just didn't work.
Yeah, just didn't work out. But
I mean, huge prospect. I needed power. Like it made sense, but it couldn't have worked too much worse.
It worked against you because he came out early. He was more expensive. You're going to get him for a longer period of time, and then fart noise.
Yeah, it just it did not work, but it happens. But I do. I usually have I like to have $100 for the last couple of months, or maybe 125 somewhere in there. I was lower than that. It's definitely limited my choices, especially with needing some saves and not being able to get Cano or Scott today was tough.
I've been in the 25 to 30 range in a lot of teams right now. It's
tough, right? Because you map it out and you're like, oh, I can spend $5 a week, and you're like, oh, I guess I can't buy this guy for $9 this week. It's tough.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we've had a lot of hitting and starting pitching prospects called up this year.
Yep.
Those shiny toys are tough to lay off of.
You're right. There's been a lot of, and it was like not like all concentrated at once. Too. It felt like every week there was a new guy, and there was another new guy to spend on. There was a lot of that this year.
Yep.
Which is fun for baseball, but yeah, tough for fantasy leagues. But hey, the one thing it has made me have to dig in on some guys. Like I know that I'm gonna need to get guys that are $3 and $4, and it makes me go find some names. How do you feel about the White Sox situation right now? Gregory Santos kind of slid into that role, has exploded in 2 of his 3 save ops. Aaron Bummer closed the game today. It was a 4-run lead, but pitched like an inning and 2/3. Do you think there's any sort of movement here with the White Sox at the back end of the games?
I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I guess. I mean, I think I put some backup bids on Endless Bummer, but I think
Yeah, his ERA in the year is 6.2. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, I remembered him having some nasty stuff back in 2019, 2020. I looked a little closer. This year's been rough. Last year was a whip of 1.5. So I kind of just decided to stay away after I looked a little closer at Bummer.
it was like, okay, I'll throw him in the long chain of bids at $1.
Our friend Rob DiPietro's jumped in the chat. Rob, you'll be happy to know Jeff and I were saying good things about you off air. So it doesn't help you very much in terms of hearing it on air, but we were saying good things about your work off air.
Yeah. Hey, subscribe to Rob's Patreon. It's good stuff. Pull Hitter, the Pull Hitter podcast too. Check that out. He does a lot of good stuff. He's been a guest on the RotoWire podcast before, and he's a good human being. We like him.
Yeah, we talk a lot of FAAB here, and Rob puts out really good FAAB stuff on Saturday and Sunday. It is insanely thorough. It's really good. Ryan Yarbrough, Jeff, since joining the Dodgers, 3 wins and a save. That feels like more wins than anybody on my team. He's been a really weird, nice little puzzle piece for them that they've used in multiple different ways, but he's been really good for them.
He's like the classic Dodgers turn an average guy into someone better than average guy. They're
just good
Anderson.
at whatever they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's kind of pitching like 3 and 4 inning segments. He had a 2 innings stretch in there, and it's always like in a really good spot where, obviously the Dodgers in a tie game, like you throw 3 short innings, you're going to get a lead at some point. The top 2 guys in the lineup literally never get out. So it makes things a lot easier for to score runs when your top 2 hitters are hitting like 900 the last few weeks. It's Mookie's awesome right now. It's crazy that the NL MVP is back up for grabs. It was like Acuna slam dunk forever. Mookie's really close right now.
Yeah, he is. Heck of a weekend for him.
Do you think how much do you think the 50 extra steals play into voters' minds we get to Acuna? Because like you look at like some of the other stuff, Acuna's a little bit better in OBP and slugging. Mookie's a little bit better in WAR and like WRC plus. Their batting average is pretty close. Acuna's a little bit higher. Mookie has a few more homers. Do you think the 50 steals? How big of an impact do you think that makes in the voters' minds?
Some. I think
it's a lot of stolen bases.
I think the story too about Acuna coming back like this also has something to do with it. I think it is closer than it was. Obviously it's narrowed. It's not like Acuna's slumping though. No,
he's hitting 335.
Yeah, I would still be surprised if he doesn't win it. But it's not like he went out and lost it either.
But 6 weeks ago, we thought like the MVP was over unless Acuna got hurt.
Yeah.
Like over. And I think I'd vote Acuna right now, but I wouldn't argue with anybody that voted Betts right now either. He's been that good. He's got 35 home runs, a career high on home runs, and we're still in August. It's been fun. I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I love Mookie. He's probably my favorite player to watch right now.
Yeah. The Mets and the Braves are the Dodgers and the Braves are just ridiculous. Why did I say Mets? I don't know why I said that, but
we were talking about last week. I really hope we get a Dodgers Braves NLCS. I think we kind of all deserve that. Easily the 2 best teams in the NL. I really hope there's no upsets. Baseball playoffs are impossible, but I hope we get that series. That'd be a really fun and good series.
With one exception. If our Reds make the playoffs, then all that goes out the window.
Of course, that goes out the window. If the Reds are playing either one, rooting for them. But in terms of anybody but the Reds, I'd really like to see a Braves Dodgers NLCS. I think it'd be fun.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah. Let's get into hitters. There are a lot of hitters in FAAB this week, but first, I want to tell you about our partners at AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it literally every day. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted better gut health, a boost in energy, immune system support. Also, I hate taking pills. That is very, very true. By the way, I'm horrible at taking pills. I want a supplement that actually tastes really good, too. I drink AG1 in the morning before starting a long day. Makes me feel ready to take on my day and also feel like I'm doing something good for my body. Since I've been drinking AG1, I notice overall feeling of health plus sustained energy, improved digestion, and most importantly, support for mental clarity and focus, which everybody, including my wife, tells me I need all the time. Covering my nutritional basis for the day couldn't literally be easier, which is why I trust AG1. I just mix 1 small scoop with water and drink it first thing each morning, and I'm done. It has 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients. I also like it only costs about $3 a day. That's pretty darn good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with high quality sourced ingredients. It's really a win-win all the way around. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplemental routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/roto. That's drinkag1.com/roto. Check it out. And we thank AG1 for their partnership on the podcast here. So Jeff, hitters. There was a lot of rookies this week. It's we used to get a lot more call-ups right around September 1, but then they changed the roster stuff. But we got a lot of rookies this week. Just in the outfield, we had Everson Pereira in New York, Parker Meadows in Detroit, Josh Palacios. We had his brother Richie Palacios. We had Wilyer Abreu. what did you do with all these rookies? Is there any way, were you differentiating between them? Did you have someone you liked more than others? As I looked more and more and more, I liked Parker Meadows the most of the group.
I did too. He was top of my list over Pereira, who I'm not convinced is going to make it. He just struck out again while we were talking. But yeah, he's going to get playing time at least. Yeah, those two I thought were a hair above everybody else. I like Canzone, I think, a little bit. Is that how we pronounce it now?
It is. I think it's been Canzone. I like Canzone too. He's been up and kind of, he was playing and then he wasn't playing a little bit. Now he played a lot this week. I've kind of had him on and off my roster, but I like Canzone too.
Yeah. So he's a guy that he'd be my next if he was available. There's not too many leagues where I actually found him available though.
Well, it helps if you're in my league because I dropped him last week, so he would have been available if you're playing with me. Yeah, he had a good. I probably wouldn't have used him if we had a good week, but I mean, Meadows is interesting to me because I mean, we talked about earlier the Tigers have 7 games a week. They face 7 righties. He's a lefty. He's hitting well, and I think there's something to be said for feeling good at the plate and doing well there. But 19 home runs, 19 stolen bases in 113 AAA games. So just someone that speed power combo is always something we like, always something we're looking for. Strikeout rate is 24% in the minors, so not something, not great, but not something you'd freak out too much about. I just think that he has a chance to put up some stats on a team that's going to let him play. I really liked Meadows. He was definitely, as I looked closer and closer, he was the one that I kind of put over everybody else.
Yeah. I think, we already talked about the Tigers schedule.
Yeah.
We already talked to, just there's a little bit of pedigree there. There's ample playing time to give out.
Yep.
So give it away. And you've got a rising lineup. Kerry Carpenter. We talked Torque already a little bit. Tough week this week, but still great second half. I think Badu can do some damage. Riley Green can do damage. I mean, it's an interesting team.
Yeah, Kerry Carpenter, Jorge Soler home today, so the stat doesn't work anymore, but he was tied for the lead in August home runs in all of baseball. Kerry Carpenter was heading into today. He's been really, really good.
Yeah, he has.
Everson Pereira, you mentioned him in New York. It seems like they're going to just let him play left field. At least they have so far this week. But really good batting average in the minors. I looked and his BABIP's pretty high. It's like a 385 or something BABIP over the first, whatever that is, 80 games in the minors. But again, another guy, 18 home runs, 11 stolen bases, hitting 300. If they let him play, I think it's one that works too. He was my second guy after Meadows, but I think it's, again, on a team that doesn't play for, I think the playing time is easier to come by.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah, we'll see, how that works out for them. But I do like that. And sometimes you just got to take a chance, right?
Yeah.
Playing time's there. Let's see what happens.
And, you can dig in the numbers all you want, but sometimes you just got to fall into a hot streak for 3 weeks. I think that there's just, you hope that guys swinging it well, some hits fall, he stays in the lineup. And, sometimes with some of these guys, like you said, you're hoping to catch a heater and get some luck involved there. It helps a little bit to have that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and I mean, Will Urabreu playing a bunch for Boston with Jaron Duran, a little banged up right now. Another speed power combo guys. A lot of these guys coming up. He was 15-23 in AA for the Astros last year, and then in the Boston organization this year, 22 home runs, 8 stolen base hit, 274. Not a lot of strikeouts either. 20.5% strikeout rate. I didn't know how the playing time here was going to work out, but he's been up for 4 games, hitting the ball hard. Looks pretty good too. I was down the list a little bit, but I think he's an intriguing guy that could fall into a hot streak too. Although, a team that's still kind of in the mix a little bit, so they're probably still, the playing time might be an issue.
Yeah, I think so too. Who did you end up with mostly?
I got 2 Parker Meadows in 2 of my main events. That was the one that I put. I ended up with a couple of Garrett Coopers too, who I think is just falling into some playing time. Jake Cronenworth is out for the year. He fractured his wrist on a hit by pitch. I just think, in a good lineup with some good guys around him, I think Cooper's that's someone that will be fine and not hurt you. And I was just looking for a corner in a couple spots, so that was good. But Meadows is the guy that I really wanted. I think I got him for like $4 and $3, something like that. I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think you should. I think those were solid bits. I also have some Cooper picked up, because he's getting more playing time. I think the schedule sets up decently for him, if I recall correctly, too. So yeah, I have a decent share of them too. He's
so boring, but hits the ball hard, and I think that he's a guy that can fall into a bit of a hot streak too. So I like that too. Ryan Noda in Oakland is mildly interesting, I thought too. He's back from the IL. He's someone that's playing every day against righties when they face a righty. Hitting the ball really hard, though. 46% hard hit rate, 13% barrel rate. Noda's been quietly, quite a little bit of pop, 12 home runs in 96 games. I think he's an interesting, and he hits leadoff or hits second for the A's whenever he plays. He's got Zach Geloff, the great, hitting behind him, which means he automatically gets driven in if he gets on base, which is always good because Geloff is the freaking man. So, I thought Noda is if you needed a corner. I had him after Cooper, but he was in my bids too.
Yeah. It's just team context. You're just going to get dragged down on the counting stats.
Come on, they're a minus 302 in the run differential. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, right?
Is that amazing? That's not made up, by the way. That's actually the run differential.
In a year where there's some really bad teams, they are still an order of magnitude. Well, I don't know if that's actually mathematically accurate anymore, but they stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, they are just above everybody else by a mile.
The huge goodness of the AL West run differential of the top 3 teams might be directly a result of the fact that
it might be.
Division.
It might very well be. The Royals are doing their best to try to keep up, bless their hearts, and the Rockies are doing their thing, eating pace in the corner. And they're
still 120 runs better than the A's.
Yes, it's really amazing.
They're both. It's funny they're the same. They're both minus 181. The A's are minus 302. It's an incredible number.
It is.
They've won really 38 baseball games, and we're almost in September.
Yeah.
Whew, it's bad. Speaking of bad teams, we've got a team that started off really well and has not been good since. Pittsburgh got some interesting guys. We talked about G1 Bay last week. Connor Joe playing pretty much every day right now. A little bit of pop. He's got 9 home runs, 108 games. Not really exciting, but hits the ball okay. 42% hard hit rate. This is just a playing time play for me. I picked him up in a couple spots. First base and outfield eligible and kind of cover 2 spots for me. I thought he was mildly interesting, just strictly a volume playing time stuff. He seems like he's playing every day right now.
Yeah, he is. And just speed. I mean, just you get speed out of it there. There's something to be said for that.
The guy who's playing shortstop for the Rays with Wander Franco on the restricted list, I don't know how to say his name. Last name Basabe. First name Osleves, I believe. It was hot this week, although you look at his BABIP, it was really high. But did you any I have so many good middle infielders in my leagues. It's weird. I have bad corners and good middles, so I didn't do much with him. But he has been hot and playing a bunch.
Yeah. Plus, you get to say Basabe.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. You got the old commercial and all that. Remember that one? The Wasabi one?
Yes.
Are you trying to forget it?
No, yes. I'm trying to I remember those was probably
it was like a Bud Light one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah. The What's Up frogs and then it turned into Wasabi. I think you're right. Yeah. Oh, Jeff, you have a good memory.
Yeah. That's debatable whether it's good, but yeah.
Although my mom was telling stories to my wife this week, and she brought up some name for some kindergarten kid, and I was like, "Oh," and I brought the kid's name, and she was like, "Oh, that's insane that you know that name." So I remember weird stuff too.
Yeah, we all retain.
Yet I can't tell you what I did yesterday. Not a clue. I have no idea what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
So what about starting pitching? I feel like I've said this about 5,000 times a season, but starting pitching was rough in FAAB yet again. Unless there's been a rookie call-up that all of us were bidding on, it's been really hard to find arms this week, or week by week. The one that I looked at was someone who had a really good debut earlier this week was Jordan Wicks in Chicago. I think he had 9 strikeouts in his first start against Pittsburgh, 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk. Really good strikeout numbers in the minors earlier this year in AA. He had a 29% strikeout rate, a little bit lower in AAA, but I don't know. I just felt like this is he showed me something. Let's give him one more start. He was probably the top guy I had starters, but I'll admit that it was a list that was not very impressive.
Yeah. And even Wicks, I mean, his minor, the strikeouts are legit. There's no doubt about that, but he's also been someone that you're just kind of like, okay, his numbers really weren't that good in AAA or in the minors either. This is probably not his true level.
Paul Spores mentioned someone for 356 on Jordan Wicks in his league. Can you imagine holding all your FAAB all year and you blow it on Jordan Wicks of all people?
Yeah. I'm not gonna hate, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
I think you might have, and it probably just didn't bid for a while, but it was, and
you're embarrassed that you don't want to leave money on the table. Sure.
I would have, I hope Cano wasn't available there. Cause at least I would have gone with Cano. What about, we talked about prospects. What about Kyle Harrison in San Francisco? Got the call, through 3 1/3, I think, in his first start. My big issue with him is the walk rate. He walks a ton of guys. The strikeouts are fully legit. He's like a 36% strikeout rate guy in AAA, but man, 16% walk rate. I have to mention that gets exposed big time in the majors. So I was worried about whip, and I was worried about him making 5 innings to get wins anyway. He does have 2 starts this week. I just have a hard time thinking he's going to get more than 8 or 9 innings between the 2 starts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. kind of, it's just 3.1 innings in his first start, and you look at him, it's all, even when he was rumored to get called up a month ago, the knock on him then was he wasn't going to go deep into games.
Yeah. It's just hard when you he probably goes 3-2 on every batter pretty much, but you look at his strikeout and walk rate. Like it's hard to go deep when you're throwing that many pitches.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was Kyle Harrison with the Giants getting called up there. He does it Cincinnati and San Diego this week, so at least he has 2 starts. But I guess if you're, it's kind of a stat category play. If you're really good in wins and ratios, you need some strikeouts. He might give you 12, 13, 14 this week, and that's workable. But unless you're like a really specific thing there, I don't think you trust him to throw, because I think the whip's gonna be a problem. I think there's gonna be no wins there either. So. What about speaking of guys who walk a lot of people? What about Edward Cabrera in Miami? Getting called back up. He's made I think 3 or 4 starts in AAA, getting sent down. This is someone that got a lot of hype in the offseason. He's getting called back up this week. Did you do anything here? I dropped him in my league, and I'm not going to do it. I think the walks are just too scary to me.
I mean, that's the thing. You after Wicks and Harrison, you've got all these recycled names.
Yep.
Guys that we've had before. Certainly, we believed in him at certain times. Cabrera and the next guy on our list, Severino. I mean, David Peterson, who we had 8 Ks today, just enough to tease us there. It really is Lucy with the football to Charlie Brown. I mean, it's just good. Oh, he pitched well today. Okay, I'll take a chance. Bam, you just get like splattered on the highway by a semi running a red light or something like that. I don't know if. It's ugly. It's always ugly when we get.
It's funny you mentioned Peterson, because I was watching. I had the game on against, I forget who was playing, but he was like really good early, and I'm like, oh, finally. And I look up, he's getting 4 runs the next thing. It's like, oh, that's the David Peterson experience right there.
Exactly. It's
like
just
every time. So it's tough. But like, if you need wins, you need strikeouts, you need some ratio guys. Like, I don't know what to tell you right now. It is hard to find anybody. I put like middle relievers on some lists. Like, there are a couple leagues where I just had drops. I'm like, I just need to get somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I had Kevin Ginkel because Paul Sewald's looking like a mess since been in Arizona. I added Jason Adam because he pitches well and maybe he'll save. But it's hard to find anybody you remotely can trust to starter. I think it's as bad as it's ever been. I know we talked last year how it was tough in the second half after the ball. We think the ball shifted a little bit, or 2019 when it was Happy Fun Ball, but. I don't know. I've never felt like I have trouble finding even a guy I'm remotely interested in throwing in. It's like 1 or 2. It's not like I'm getting outbid on everybody. I just can't find anybody.
Yeah. And you mentioned Sewald. He and Robertson both. It's so vexing. They were so good all year. The second they get traded away, bam, they're terrible. What?
I have Sewald in when my main event was actually in contention in its league, not overall by any means. But every time I watch him now, it is just an absolute circus. Last night he had 7, 8, 9, a 2-run lead. He walks the 7. I'm like, what? You throw a fastball in the middle. Like, if he hits a home run, he hits a home run. It's not going to hurt you anymore on the wall. He looks like a mess right now. I don't know if he's trying to be too fine with his new team. He blew his first save, then got like 3 in a row. They were all sketchy. Alec Thomas made an unbelievable catch to save one of his games. There was like an unreal catch to center field. He loaded the bases after that. Like, if he's gotten saves, they've been lucky. And then he got smoked last night. It's I don't know. I don't know how many times they can trust him with sending him out there. I don't know if they didn't do it today, obviously, because he threw a lot of pitches. I see some in the chat blaming Bob Brenly. That's funny.
I agree with Timothy Tunks on that one there. We had this conversation a little bit on Twitter yesterday. They're a bottom 5 announcing crew for me.
I like Steve Berthiaume though.
I like him sometimes.
Yeah.
I think he's got creeping Diamondbacks-ism in him now.
They're definitely homers for sure.
And I hate that stadium. It is.
I've been there.
I've been there.
Nothing fun about it. Yeah.
It's an office park. Like, there's carpeting in part of the hallway. It's just there's so. There's just this echo, and it's dark, and you never get sunshine there ever.
Gigantic too.
Yeah,
wow. There's a hot chick in the chat. Nobody worse than Don Orsillo. I like
what? I disagree with Benson on that one there. Yeah. Sorry, I like Orsillo.
Yeah, if I'm not watching the Dodgers, I usually flip over to the Padres because I like their team. They have a lot of fun. And I like
spend a whole podcast talking about broadcasters. Maybe we should at some point in time.
Yeah, there's nothing. As a former A's fan, there's nothing good about that. So it's been bad. It's been bad.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, I just don't enjoy it. Rockies games. I mean, I love Coors Field fireworks. I love just like the pinball games, but man, I don't like their announcing crew. And
is that FP Santana? Or he's national.
No, right? It's not I know you're thinking of a different X player, but it's not him either anymore for the most part. It's more the play by play. It's just blah. Okay, their games are on television. Great, let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of Rockies games. I'll have to admit to you. If I do, I put on the other broadcast usually. So
I do like the Mets broadcast. I'm with Isaac here. I really like the Mets crew. I think they're fantastic.
I like the Mets crew too. I actually there you go. Ryan's
I like Spilly. I do like Spilly. I like him on Sirius XM too. He does a good radio show. So I like him.
Were there any other starters you're interested in? Bailey Falter pitched well this week, but I have nightmares of last year with Bailey Falter. But 2 good starts in a row for him, giving up 1 run in both of those. The velocity's back up a little bit with the Pirates, but man, it's the Pirates. You're not getting any wins.
Falter just faltered today, so I was all set to bid on him, and then I oh, never mind.
Yeah, he threw 4 2/3, 6 runs, and I'm like, oh, that's why I'm not bidding on Bailey Falter. It's just it's rough. It's tough out there starting pitching. If you can find anybody, hold on to them tight. I bid on some Andre Jackson, the former Dodgers prospect this week, but man, another guy that's on Pittsburgh. Like, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a few players before we jump out of here. But first, a note from our sponsor, Home Run Index. We all know the weather can impact how far a ball can fly, but we never know what all the heat and humidity or cold air is going to really do to the ball. The Home Run Forecast Index gives us an easy way to determine how good or bad the air is for ball flight. The index is calculated by measuring stadium-specific weather conditions and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the most unfavorable for ball flight, and 10 indicating the most favorable air. There's a strong correlation between the index and the number of runs scored per game and the number of home runs hit. Games that have the highest index, 10, for the whole game average over 10 runs and 2.8 homers over the course of a year. An index is created for each game so you can see what it will be in any stadium and how the weather's influence might change over the course of the game as well as the wind direction. Right now, you can access the HRF premium site for only $5 a month and see what the index will look like for every hour of every MLB game. Go to homerunforecast.com now to sign up. So, Jeff, we already talked about Kerry Carpenter, so we don't really need to go there. But I got a question now. Francisco Lindor, is this the quietest guy you've ever? He has 24 home runs and 23 stolen bases. He's 10th in Major League Baseball in WAR. And I think if you ask a random fan, they think that because he's on the Mets, Lindor sucks. He's been really, really good this year. He's at 84 runs, 7 RBIs. He's been really good in fantasy this year.
Lately, he got off to a bad start.
He did.
And I think now, I think people have kind of forgotten that he's been playing better lately. I mean, because it's been under the cover of them being pretty terrible, as a team. Yeah, if you look at what he's done, 884 in the last 24 days in terms of OPS. In that stretch, 2 homers, six of those stolen bases in the last 21 days. So he has picked it up. Yeah. It's a better season than last year when he had a 788 OPS. He's up to 810 for the season now. Yeah, he's been a lot better. He was really bad early on, though.
Yeah, he was. I remember I have him in the main event. And I was like, oh, maybe I made a mistake here. He was. Let's see what he hit 218 in March and April and 227 in May. So you are right there. But the power's been there. I mean, he hit 4 home runs, 6 and 6 the first couple of months. I mean, he's looking at. We're talking about a legit chance at 30-30 here. It's probably going to be like 28-28. But I mean,
he's paying the fantasy bills. There's no doubt about that.
It's a big fantasy season right there.
So where do you draft him next year?
Probably about the same spot. What was he this year? Like early 4th, late 3rd, right in there?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't really think he's going to move up that much. You got some young guys who are going to jump ahead of him. You got some pitchers to move up. But yeah, I think that I'm pretty good. Like I think he's weirdly become kind of the boring guy. I know he's only 29, so you can't call him the boring old guy, but I think he's kind of the boring guy that's there. And I think I'll do it again. I liked him this year in that 3-4 turn. I think I'd love to take him right back there again. I think it's just kind of lock in solid numbers, and you're not going to get a huge ceiling kind of guy, but I don't know. You give me 28, I'll take that ceiling every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Speaking of guys who were a lot of hype and then have done nothing, Christopher Morel. Have you looked at him at all lately? 143 with no stolen bases, 3 home runs in August. As everybody was picking their Christopher Morel victory laps, we talked about the fact that he strikes out a freaking ton. There are going to be some downs, and it's been rough here for the last month.
It has. On the balance, it's definitely been worth it, but you're still at 19 and 60 and 55, or in 60 and 50, excuse me.
Yeah, and only 83 games too. That's a lot of home runs.
Yeah, so his overall numbers are still strong, but yeah, he has faded hard lately, and the playing time has matched that too. You'll notice he's playing a lot less than he did before.
Yeah, he's a tough guy for next year because he strikes out so much, and it was last year too. It's not like it's like a jump this year. It's 32% last year, 33% this year, but 50% hard hit rate, 49.2, a barrel rate over 14%. Like the power is legit. He's got the 19 home runs. These are always hard guys to peg. Like he could hit 210 with a bunch of homers. He could get a nice bat and hit 265 with a bunch of homers, and it makes a difference between he's a drop or a really valuable pick. And it's a tough in between there. I don't know what I'm gonna do with Morel next year.
I think, I'm going to discount him. And the fact that he doesn't have a true position also hurts a lot.
Yeah, you kind of lose that. You lose that locked in playing time, which is tough. Speaking of guys who've been on fire, you mentioned Lindor, a guy who started really slow. Friend of the podcast, Teoscar Hernandez, has been on absolute fire lately. Since August 15th, the last 13 games, 12 games, 23-56, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs in 12 games. We're finally getting the good Teoscar here. It might be a little bit too late for teams, but he's someone that's picking it up big time right now as the Mariners have gotten hot.
It's almost like, being mentioned on at the trade deadline and then not getting traded maybe gave him a boost. I don't know. Last 21 days, he's got a 1076 OPS. I mean, he's been, stay hot, brother. Stay hot. Yesterday was fun with all those homers by the Mariners, excuse me. But still, at the end of the day, 29 walks, 166 Ks. He still strikes out a metric ton.
I think that's him. That's what we're looking at. But he's still at 260. Like that does not hurt you at all. I mean, that's nice batting average. I know he started slow. It's just another reminder of just how insanely long baseball season is. Like they're just guys that you get hot for a month and all of a sudden end the year stats is what we care about. If you're not taking Teoscar out, so you're just playing him, and it's going to slowly work by the end of the year. You mentioned all the home runs the Mariners hit. Very quietly, Cal Raleigh's having a better season than last year. He's last year he led all catchers and home runs. Right now he's at 232, up 20 points from last year. 25 home runs, got more RBIs than he did last year. He's only 2 home runs short. He's been really good with the power of the second half here.
Yeah, and he probably won't be that expensive in drafts next year.
I think it kind of probably about the same, right? He's at 250 with 14 home runs and 37 games in the second half. That's a crazy power run right there.
It is. Maybe he will be a little bit more expensive, but
I actually agree with you. I think he'll just kind of be that guy that nobody wants to take the batting average risk, and kind of in that 11th, 12th round. If you want a catcher that hits 28 home runs, boom, there you go. Yeah,
I would take it.
A pitcher we talked about a few weeks ago, we were talking about FAAB. We talked about not a lot of pitchers on the FAAB wire. This is a guy that has really worked out. Cole Ragans in Kansas City has been really good in August. 2.12 ERA, 44 strikeouts, and 29 2/3. Crazy good strikeout rate. I watched the guy pitch a couple times. I think he pitched against the A's once. He looks legit when you watch him. Like he looks like he faced the A's this week. He had 11 strikeouts. That was the game I was referencing. But 11 strikeouts in 3 of his last 4 starts. We talked about how hard it is to start starting pitching. If you added him a month ago, his worked out really well.
Yeah, and I did see a couple smart people say they liked that trade for the Royals, and then I kind of filed away and then didn't act on it. Pretty smart.
Yeah, he's made 6 starts for the Royals since he joined them. Has not given up more than 3 runs in any of the starts. I mean, that's just, you can't find that in the waiver wire. That is absolute gold right there. You're getting a guy for free on the waiver wire that is pitching like an ace right now, and that is what we've been looking for all year week. It's been really tough.
It has. So yeah, nice swoop by the Royals. I guess if you can't develop your own, you let someone else develop them and trade for them then.
Jeff, question in the chat. Someone's got head-to-head playoffs. I assume you would not drop JT Realmuto for Mitch Garver, correct?
The fact that we're asking the question just illustrates what a year it's been.
Yep.
For Realmuto, and also the fact that Garver is hot now. I mean, he does seem to have his power stroke. So I get it. I get the frustration of Realmuto, but no, there's no way I'm making that swap. If you beat me doing that, God bless you.
Agreed. I'm keeping Realmuto and hoping. I mean, he's still got 15 home runs and 12 stolen bases. I'm hoping you get a hot couple weeks there and a really good lineup and a team that's playing for a lot. I think I'm keeping Realmuto for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Garver really has been hot lately.
He has.
The Heim injury, it was terrible, but at least it was decent timing because they had Garver. Although I think defensively he's still a drag on the team. I think behind the plate, I think in the running game he's pretty bad still. So, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, if you look at Garver's last 21 days, 5 homers, 12 RBI, hitting 295, pretty good run.
Yeah. Heim had a salami today too. He's back too. So
he was his only hit in 6 appearances, but
if you're going to get a hit, at least make it worthwhile.
Yep.
Last guy I want to talk to you about, since we're talking a little bit about next year, I think the fantasy community as a whole was like, yeah, Dylan Cease was lucky last year, and his price was not. You normally get someone that goes 2.2 ERA, 1.1 WHIP, like, oh my gosh, everybody's gonna move him way up, all those strikeouts. Everybody's very smart now. I think 5 years ago he would have been another round or two higher than he was this year, but everybody kind of knew it's been bad this year. 4.87 ERA, 1.47 WHIP, even with his price not really moving up. It's been really bad for Dylan Cease. What the heck? What do we do with him in drafts next year? We're looking at 2 years here that are total opposites in terms of the base number, or the generic numbers we're used to, the ERA and the WHIP and all that. Still a lot of strikeouts, all the swinging strike rate and the K rate's down. The walk rate the same as it was last year, still in double digits, which I don't love. The BABIP has been up this year. Last year was really far down. What do you do with a guy like this?
The one metric I hate is the average fastball velocity is 1.2 miles an hour slower than it was last year. I don't like that a lot. Everything else, though, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, he was lucky last year at the 260 BABIP, but he also has a 333 BABIP this year. He's been unlucky. Now, it's also, is that team context? Is that just team malaise? Like Anderson missed a bunch of time. Maybe he has less range than he used to. They have just a rotating door third baseman. Maybe, he's getting unlucky on balls in play a little bit there too. But here's the thing, though. With Dylan Cease, you're always going to have this floor of a high walk rate, right?
Yep.
You're always going to have that. So
you feel like you're going to need to get lucky with the BABIP to have the WHIP under control. The WHIP was 1.11 last year, which is really good. I don't think you just have to get lucky to get that. Now, he could have a good ERA, he's going to have a lot of strikeouts. I think there's going to be 9 million people this offseason like, oh, just split the difference between 2022 and 2020. I think that's going to be the common way to attack him. But I think I agree with you. I think that you just build that floor of a bad WHIP, and it's hard. You just like suddenly you're hoping for 3 categories, and maybe you get really lucky with the WHIP like last year. But I still think that strikeouts are going to, attract people to a point that's going to go higher than I'm going to want to take them.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's just, when his best year is a 111 WHIP. This is the way, but I'll say this, it's not always permanent. Look at Luis Castillo.
Yeah,
we used to say the same thing about Castillo all the time.
Yeah, and Robbie Ray had those couple of years in there too, and he was kind of the same guy too. And
yeah,
you're right. Luis Castillo used to be the WHIP walk guy, huh?
The poster child for, okay, he's great, except look at that WHIP. What's his best year going to be looking like? And then he said, okay, no, there is something better still left. And I don't know if Cease is that way, though. I mean, just the way the White Sox are run. I mean, they finally fired their front office.
I thought it was a joke they hired La Russa as a consultant.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was like someone was kidding on Twitter when it came out. And I thought it was not like an actual news source. I was like, you can't even write this anymore. Like if I told you that 3 months ago, you would have thought I was joking. Yeah. Like you can't even write a movie that bad because it's just not believable. And I can't believe he's back in. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. But he could be an ace, but he also, I mean, do you trust the White Sox to unlock that? I guess I got to see what they do this offseason, but I can't think of a team I'd less rather have them on right now.
I agree there. Maybe they trade him in the offseason, but it's funny you mentioned Castillo. I looked at it again. I know we talked about it earlier, but his Mariners starting rotation is awesome 1 through 5.
It is. It really is.
Who doesn't start in the playoffs for them? I guess it's Wu, right? You go Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, Bryce Miller if you go 4 starters.
Yeah, and we'll see what sort of innings limitation Miller has. That might be a wild card too. But yeah, good. And they're smoking the ball now too. That's the difference.
I looked at the schedule. Last year they got rid of one of those off days, so you had to throw 4 starters. You couldn't they didn't have the double off days in there. You're right on Bryce Miller. He's doing 101 innings in the majors and 19 in the minors. So what's that? 120. Last year he threw 127, 132 total. He's kind of getting that range. He's still got a little bit of runway, but it's not a long runway.
Yeah.
A few news and notes before we jump out of here. We obviously mentioned Felix Bautista already. We mentioned Bo Bichette really quickly, but he left Sunday with right quad tightness. Not what you love to hear. It looked like a hamstring at first, I'd rather much rather have quad tightness than a hamstring pull. So hopefully we get some good news there. We mentioned that they're going into cores this week, so we would certainly like to have Bo playable. Rafael Devers got some X-rays on his sore wrist. The X-rays did come back negative, which is really good news. That came back between the time I sent you our outline and when we did the podcast, but. He did not play today, but I imagine we probably consider him day-to-day with the negative X-rays.
Yeah, at least we got that going there. Sometimes you need an MRI to show something, but so far so good.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good point on that. I feel like Devers has been kind of quiet, but then you look and he's got 29 home runs, 88 RBIs, hitting 272. Not a huge Devers year, but always just really good.
We
He's
should
just
all
always
have
so
such
fun.
quiet years.
Right, exactly. It's just I feel like he's just kind of been quiet. It's been kind of a little bit streaky here and there, but you're gonna look up. He's gonna be 34, 105 again, and just boom. We mentioned Jake Cronenworth. He's out with the right wrist fracture. Mason Miller. We talked about Bryce Miller. Mason Miller, another pitcher that had a weird innings limit. He did not pitch much last year. Came up with the A's. Looked really good. Throws about 110 miles an hour and got hurt right away. He's made a couple of rehab starts. He's gonna make one more start of the week. Sounds like he might be with the A's either late this week, or early next week. If you stashed him, it's gonna be almost time to unleash Mason Miller for I don't know how many innings he throws, but they should be good ones when he throws them.
Yeah, it's just been so long since he's pitched. He should have. That's the thing, because he's missed so much of the year. He should be like, unless he has a setback, he could be free and clear the rest of the way and get like 6 starts.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing him throw 5 innings too many times. I just don't know.
Yeah, that's certainly
no reason to push him, but he's throwing decent innings in the minors in his rehab starts, I think. But maybe he throws 5. But if you need strikeouts, he's good ratios. He could be a guy to add. He's been stashed for the last couple of weeks in most leagues. I saw he was available in one of my leagues. I think I got outbid or I've got somebody else instead, but he could be back. We mentioned Matt Chapman left early Sunday with the inflamed finger. Another guy on Toronto that we're gonna have to just check the news and see what happens there with Chappie. A couple of Giants are coming back this week. Mike Yastrzemski and Mitch Haniger, 2 guys who have been on and off the IL all year long. Yaz is supposed to be back for the Cincinnati series to start the week, and then Haniger hoping for the end of the week. I don't know. This is just going to muck up the Giants, who plays and who plays when. But
even more mucked up than usual, too,
which
is already bad.
The Giants are still kind of in this thing, though, right?
Big win tonight on Sunday Night Baseball there. They needed that.
Beat the Braves, right?
Yeah. Well, they had a horrible month of August so far, but luckily for them, the Reds have been worse. Yep. Arizona has caught fire now, but they went through a really tough stretch.
And the Padres didn't make a run or anything. Like it just kind of been, everybody's kind of been blah in that range.
The Padres season is the one that I think surprises me more than anything, even more than the Mets. You still look, they're plus 53. But
they're a game ahead of the Mets.
I know. They're plus 53 and they're still 9 games under 5. That Dodger series pretty much killed their season. Yeah. They got to within one game of 500.
It seems like it happens every year to them. The Dodgers just always put the stake in them.
Yeah, it seems like it. 9 games under 500. How'd that happen?
I have no idea.
The Musgrove thing hurts. I know that. They got swept by the Brewers this weekend. That was bad. That was really bad. They win at 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. They're like, all right, head-to-head competition, but they get swept by the Brewers and lose 3 or 4 to the Diamondbacks. That's just, you can't do that.
That third wild card in the NL. We talked about the AL. It's like there's only a couple teams left, but they're pretty good. Third NL wild card. We got Arizona, the Giants, the Reds, and the Marlins. That's going to be.
Well, and the Cubs are the number 2, and They have some awesome things, but they got some other not so awesome things. I don't know. I trust the Phillies as the only NL wildcard team that I trust at all.
Me too.
Which means I'm sure we'll have 2 upsets in the first round, of course. But
and I kind of thought the Diamondbacks were dead there for a bit, but then when 8 out of the last 10, they're kind of right back in it. Had a good win today, but
Merrill Kelly's back. That was huge.
Yep. It was huge, and Gallen's still pitching well, and Fott's been a little bit better. So maybe, I don't know. It's going to be who wants to win that third spot there.
Yep.
Michael Brantley, believe it or not, could be activated on Tuesday. I kind of thought he was kind of done, but it sounds like he might be back in Houston.
I'm tapping my chest for "Be Still My Beating Heart" on Michael Brantley there.
Yeah, how many? What's the over/under in number of bats before he gets hurt again? Yandy Diaz missed the weekend with a sore forearm. He actually got hit by a pitch. Sounds like everything's fine. He's just a little bit sore. So I think that I don't know how he gets sore. His muscles, you'd think he would just bounce right off, but apparently his muscles do get a little bit sore. And good news on Chase Silseth, who's been really good for Anaheim when they pitched. It seems to be okay. He got hit in the head by a throw, got checked out, went to the hospital, but seems like he is okay.
Yeah. He's been pretty good. He's good starts for sure, at least. Yeah. I'm not sure I can use him this week, but they said he checked out negative for concussion at least.
Yeah. He and Griffin Canning pitched really well today. So my last question for you, Jeff, what the heck happens with Ohtani in free agency? What are we going to look at here?
Oh my God. I have no idea.
Right. There's no way I have an idea. Like, does he he's going to keep hitting, it sounds like.
Dude, did you see that game? I mean, multiple extra base hits, multiple stolen bases. He's got a torn UCL and he's still like running.
He broke the Coors Light sign in the outfield. He smoked it.
He's so good.
But if he doesn't get surgery, like, you can't pay him as a hitter and pitcher, right? I don't even know what's going to happen.
You don't pay for past performance. We're not at that. Teams don't do that anymore.
But on the flip side, like, even if he doesn't pitch, he's worth so much to a franchise in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We were talking about $700 million before. I don't know what happens to all these offers and deals if he is, kind of he's a little bit of a question mark whether he can pitch or not.
It's a massive question mark, and I don't think it's going to be answered.
It certainly doesn't seem like he's jumping into do anything for a long term, any kind of Tommy John or anything. I don't know if he needs that, but it sounds like he's going to be rest and rehab, which works for some guys, but for the most part, does not work.
Benson's trolling me. Ohtani, the Reds for $50 million per year. Oh God, yeah, I'd love it. It's never happening. But
imagine how many balls he hit in the water there, though.
Oh, in Cincy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, into the Ohio River. Yeah.
It would be awesome.
There was a cool picture. The Reds had that all rookie infield, right? And there was a pitching change, and Ohtani was on second, so they all kind of hung out with him. You saw Ellie like saying, "Are you real?" And then Ohtani mimicked Ellie, like hit with the like his funky swing when he mistimed a ball and still hit into the corner for a triple or something like that. They're busting each other back and forth. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was really cool. Ohtani seems like such a good dude. I love it. But it'll be interesting. It's a really wild little thing that's been put in the free agent market here with the fact that maybe he's just a hitter. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I don't know what he wants to do. I don't know if he's going to insist on pitching. It is really, really fascinating what's going to go down.
Yeah, and he's not just a hitter, but an exquisite hitter too. I mean, that's the thing.
Unbelievable. I mean, he's unbelievable at everything, and just his hitting everything he hits is hard. It's fun. He's fast. It's gonna be really interesting to see what the heck happens there.
Yeah.
So, anybody else on your mind? Anybody else you want to talk about, Jeff?
No, I think we're good. I'm just looking forward to like a normal-ish week.
A normal-ish week. That is a good thing. And you got 2 weeks till football starts. At least you got a little bit of breather here. We have a football auction tomorrow night, right?
Yes, we do. And it starts.
I said that. I'm like, I think he's in that league. I know you're in that league.
Yeah. And the fun part is that I still get to. I'm going to be doing a couple drafts at once during that auction, so it's going to be insane.
Look at you. So you're just a multitasker. You're just so talented. It's just incredible.
No, I'm just bad at scheduling.
Well, I try and give you a compliment. You take the other side. It's kind of how things
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. You're around. We're both around next Sunday. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's right. Labor Day weekend next weekend. So everybody, I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast, both tonight and all year long. Also appreciate all the comments in the chat. Always really fun to hear everybody chatting with each other, chatting to us. It's always really fun there. If you have any questions, you can hit Jeff up on Twitter. He's at Jeff_Erickson if you want to follow him or ask any questions on there. He can help you out there. Other than that, hope everybody has a really good week, a really good fantasy week. Hope you move up those standings. We'll be back at you next Sunday night. Take care.